Joseph Kony is a Ugandan warlord and the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, a guerrilla group that has operated in Uganda and neighboring countries. Here's a detailed look into his life. Early life. Joseph Kony was born in August 1961 in Odek, a village in northern Uganda. He belongs to the Akoli ethnic group. His early life is not well documented, but he reportedly grew up in a Roman Catholic family. Kony was an altar boy in his youth, but he dropped out of school in the primary grades. Rise to power. In the late 1980s, northern Uganda was experiencing political instability and civil conflict. Kony emerged as a spiritual leader and initially joined the Holy Spirit movement led by Alice Lakwena. After Lakwina's defeat, Kony took over the remnants of her group and rebranded it as the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, in 1987. Lord's Resistance Army. Kony claimed to be a prophet and used a mix of Christian fundamentalism, mysticism, and traditional African beliefs to legitimize his leadership. The LRA initially aimed to overthrow the Ugandan government and establish a theocratic state based on the Ten Commandments. However, the group's methods quickly turned brutal. Tactics and atrocities. Under Kony's leadership, the LRA became notorious for its extreme violence and human rights abuses. The group engaged in widespread massacres, mutilations, abductions, and the use of child soldiers. It is estimated that the LRA abducted tens of thousands of children to serve as soldiers, porters, and sex slaves. The group financed its operations through looting, pillaging, and support from the Sudanese government, which used the LRA as a proxy force against the Ugandan government. International attention. Kony's actions eventually drew international condemnation. The International Criminal Court, ICC, issued an arrest warrant for him in 2005, charging him with war crimes and crimes against humanity. Despite various military efforts to capture or kill him, Kony remained elusive. Decline of the LRA. By the late 2000s, the LRA had been largely driven out of Uganda and was operating in the border regions of South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The group's numbers dwindled, and its influence waned, but Kony managed to evade capture. Kony 2012. In 2012, the non-profit organization Invisible Children launched a viral campaign called Kony 2012 to raise awareness about Joseph Kony and the LRA. The campaign aimed to make Kony globally known in order to pressure international authorities to capture him. While the campaign succeeded in raising awareness, it also faced criticism for oversimplifying the complex conflict and for its portrayal of Africa. Current status. As of the latest information, Joseph Kony remains at large. His current whereabouts are unknown, and he is believed to be in hiding in the dense jungles of Central Africa. Efforts to capture him continue, but his influence and the strength of the LRA have significantly diminished. Legacy. Joseph Kony's legacy is one of violence and terror. His actions have left deep scars in the regions affected by the LRA's activities, and the process of recovery and reconciliation continues. Kony's use of child soldiers and the atrocities committed by the LRA serve as stark reminders of the devastating impact of armed conflict on civilians, particularly children. Humanitarian impact. The impact of Joseph Kony and the LRA on the local population has been devastating. Communities across northern Uganda, South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo have suffered from displacement, violence, and trauma. The LRA's tactics created a humanitarian crisis, with millions of people being displaced from their homes. Many of these internally displaced persons, IDPs, lived in camps for years, facing overcrowding, disease, and lack of basic necessities. Child soldiers and rehabilitation. One of the most tragic aspects of Kony's campaign has been the use of child soldiers. Boys and girls as young as 8 have been abducted and forced into combat, subjected to brutal initiation rites, and used as human shields. Many girls were also forced into sexual slavery and given as wives to LRA commanders. Efforts to rehabilitate former child soldiers have been ongoing. Organizations such as UNICEF and World Vision have been instrumental in providing psychological support, education, and vocational training to help these children reintegrate into society. The challenges are immense, as many former child soldiers struggle with trauma, stigma, and the loss of their childhoods. Efforts to capture Kony. Several military operations have been launched to capture Kony and dismantle the LRA. The Ugandan military, with support from the United States and other nations, has conducted extensive manhunts, but Kony has proven to be a master of evasion. His ability to move across borders and his use of the dense, remote terrain of Central Africa have made him difficult to apprehend. International legal pursuit. The International Criminal Court, ICC, issued an arrest warrant for Joseph Kony in 2005, charging him with 33 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including murder, enslavement, sexual enslavement, and rape. Despite these charges, Kony remains a fugitive. The ICC's efforts have been hampered by the lack of cooperation from some governments in the region and the difficulties in conducting operations in remote areas. Impact on the region. The presence of the LRA has had long-term impacts on the stability and development of the affected regions. Infrastructure has been destroyed, economies have been disrupted, and trust within communities has been eroded. The LRA's activities have also strained relations between neighboring countries, complicating regional politics and security. Legacy of Joseph Kony. Joseph Kony's legacy is a complex one, marked by violence, fear, and suffering. While he has evaded capture, his influence and the power of the LRA have significantly diminished. The efforts of international organizations, governments, and local communities to bring stability and peace to the affected regions continue. Kony's story is a stark reminder of the brutal realities of war and the profound impact of conflict on innocent civilians, especially children. It underscores the importance of international cooperation in addressing human rights abuses and the need for continued vigilance and support for victims of such atrocities. Conclusion. Joseph Kony remains one of the most infamous warlords in recent history. His reign of terror has left a lasting impact on millions of people in Central Africa. While the LRA has been weakened, the scars left by its atrocities are still healing. The ongoing efforts to capture Kony and bring him to justice reflect the international community's commitment to accountability and the protection of human rights.